We've been doing lots of home projects. We just finished the bathtub. We've done some electrical work around the house. Now begins the process of fixing something that's been really fun in our family, but hasn't been 100% working the way it should, which is our awesome air hockey table. So the story of our air hockey table goes like this. We were at Walmart one night, and a guy came out of the exit with one of those big roller carts, a big sticker on an air hockey table box that said $75. And I said, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be awesome if we had an air hockey table that was only $75? So I asked him, I said, are there other ones back there? And he said, yeah, they're practically giving them away. They're on clearance. So we went and got one. But when we got it home and opened it, we saw a huge crack through it. And when we first got it, we were like, you know what, we could fix that. So I don't even remember what this stuff is. I think it's like gesso or something. It's not the right stuff to fix an air hockey table. I know that for certain. Over time, it just got worse and worse. And I wanted to repaint it, and I ended up just screwing up the paint job worse and worse. So it's just time to sort of revisit this so that, it's nice and flat everywhere. I actually have, the Bondo Putty and hardener, and I think that would work perfectly here. So we're going to hopefully be able to fix this just using that Bondo Putty, harden it, and sand it smooth. Every time the kids roll over this thing, it gets stuck, and it gets stuck, and it gets stuck. So now hopefully we can smooth it out, sand it real good, and then maybe even fix the paint job. If we could just keep it kind of to this little disaster zone right here, and we could paint that white and possibly fix the red. I think that would be ideal. I think we're ready to do it. Let's kind of fix this mess that I started doing, and then we'll add to it. So I've scuffed up the surface, and I made sure that everything was below the actual playing surface so that there's nothing bumping up, right? This was bumping up pretty high, but I can drag a ruler across this, and there's nothing above the actual play surface now. I've got my Bondo here. First I'll do right against the edge and kind of let that seal first, and then I'll start smoothing the rest of the top. I was sure to vacuum in this area. I just vacuumed the entire surface just to make sure it was all good. It's nice and smooth now. There's no dust or anything, so it's good to go. So let's start filling in these cracks. At this point, I don't care how even this is because it's really just a first layer. There is an obvious divot over here, but we're going to sand over this, get it pretty smooth, and then we are going to add kind of a second layer, probably even a third layer, just to make sure it is even, so that when I pass a T-square or a ruler or something over this, there's not a high point. While I'm at it on this second pass, we have given this air hockey table a little bit of punishment, so I'm going to go through and very carefully find a couple of spots that do have a little bit of damage. So we're just going to wait for this to dry, and then we will sand and then do a second coat. Okay, I have gone through and done the sanding for the first pass of Bondo Putty, and let's pass this. I haven't passed it yet. Oh, so good. Let's go in the other direction. So smooth. Now there is a divot, right? This whole area is just a pocket. Sort of the contour, right? There's a big hole over here. It's a deep, deep crevice. You can see in the shadow. Then it comes back to basically 0 right there. I'm gonna fill in the rest of the pocket, and then I'll sand it again. And then I'll probably put a third coat on just as like a skim coat on top. At this point, you just kind of have to go off a feel. I'm brushing my hand across it. Yeah, you can do like a ruler test or something, but you can feel that. You're kind of adept to feeling, you know, little tiny bits of changes. There's a gully right about here. I mean, an infinitesimal, super small gully, but it's enough that I'm going to do one more pass. This feels great. Down here feels great. It's really just kind of right here in this little saddle. So I'm gonna put it right there. I'm just kind of nitpicking at this point. Everything else, I mean, we could even go with this if we wanted to, but just to nitpick it a little bit, I'm gonna just fill in this little gully right here. All right, it got late last night, so we let it dry overnight. This is a very rough third layer, but it's wider than everything else. In fact, it feels a little bit convex. So I think we're good. I think we're good on this one. So we're gonna flatten this entirely. All these parts. I even added where that little goofy scratch was. 2 of them actually. There were 2 of them. And I'll use, what am I using? 80 grit, 60 grit. And then once we get into kind of making finer details, finer passes, we'll probably end up using, you know, 200, then 600, and work its way down, you know. Okay, this is now sanding the 3rd pass of Bondo Putty, and at this point I'm just looking for an even movement across the whole thing, and it really is. So I'm feeling good about it. It doesn't scrape, and the underside isn't, you know, there's no convex, there's no concave. Feeling really good about it. We should turn the thing on and see how it slides over this. And then if it works, we'll drill the holes. If not, we'll sand it a little more, maybe do a 4th pass, but I don't think we need it. So I went out into the garage and I found my drill bit set, and luckily the drill bit that is the smallest one I own is the perfect size right here. So the way that the air hockey table works is there is a flat board underneath and this perforated board above, and there's a small little gap where the channels of air come and fill through the hole. So if I measure this and make sure that it doesn't go anywhere past that depth, right? I'll mark it with a piece of masking tape or electrical tape, so that wherever I drill, it is not too deep, not too shallow. But if we go too deep, then we perforate that underneath layer, which we don't want to do. I also found a couple of colors of spray paint. I found a white, a variety of reds. We are going to need some red right there. I found Pep Boys Hunter Red. This, what is this one called? Rich Red. And then I also found Fire Red. So I'm going to test these out maybe on a piece of masonite, and we'll see which one actually looks like that. All right, so now that we have spray painted and let it dry for a little while, it looks pretty okay, but wherever we taped it off is pretty obvious. I'm gonna go through and just sand it. There are a couple little burrs and stuff, which is, you know, pretty common when you spray. There might be some dust or something. The bump between the two is pretty okay. I just think if we kind of buff this a little bit, it'll be just as smooth. It feels like it's almost there, just maybe a real low grit, like a 1500 grit. I have a 600 and a 1500, and then just a polish wipe too. And I think maybe, you know, hitting one, hitting the other, and then polishing it. Even though it's a little bit lighter color, I think the transition from one to the other will be better, and the playing surface, the actual smoothness of the surface will be a little better. Ooh, sneaky. Woo. That wasn't fully on the table yet. That's cool. Look how many times it passes over before it slows down.